Welcome, one and all, to the mystical world of Filbar. Adventures abound throughout this realm, and we appreciate the opportunity to regale you with some stories from these trails. These accounts are all based on actual RPG experiences that occurred within Adventures in Filbar. Some of these tales may be for mature audiences, while others may be for very immature audiences. We now present the sage Mikas Tumo from Tamel, also known as the Bard of Filbar.
Welcome to session Denali-23. When we left our brave heroes last, they had uncovered a murder scene at a local farm. Information had led them to this locale in the hopes of learning more of the mysterious noble that they had information on. The grisly discovery appears to be the work of Bugbwares, but only brings up more questions than answers. We return as the heroes watch the farmhouse go up in flames. "I still don't understand why we set it on fire," asked Phidias the gnome. Grish, the cleric, looked at him and spoke in a terse voice. "I wouldn't want to live there after that. It smelled and there was a great deal of blood. Besides, it wasn't the best structure in the world." "Do you think the smoke will attract the bugbears?" asked Stans. "Lord, I hope so," was the response of Sir Omel, Knight of Bacchus. "Those foul creatures need to pay, and I for one would like to enforce that cost." As the fire consumed the building, the group watched silently until Yolanda spoke up. "We still have a lot of daylight, and some tracks north that we need to investigate that might be our brigand friend. I say we move on." The group looked at her before nodding silently. With their mounts retrieved, the group headed back to the crossroads. Reaching their previous spot, they headed north where the single-rider tracks went off. After several hours of riding, they found a small vale with a pond and some fruit trees. "Shall we stop for a few minutes?" boomed out Grish. A chorus of ayes was the overwhelming response, and as Brother Stance dismounted, he stretched out his back. Sir Omel noticed and wryly asked if the monk was sore for some reason. He received an angry glance as a retort and chuckled. The group went to the edge of the water and refilled their water skins, leaving Sir Omel and Yolanda to watch the horses. "Is there something up with the monk?" asked Yolanda. The knight feigned indifference and replied, "Stance? Not that I know of. Why do you ask?" Yolanda looked into his eyes deeper, then wrinkled her nose in disbelief. "I thought as much. Did he? And the barmaid? But the knight cut her short. "Whatever happened between those two is their own business, and not ours," he reminded her. She gasped and appeared shocked, but quickly composed herself. I never would have thought that. Well, I don't know what to say." Omel leaned in and in a hushed tone told her not to say anything. He's a little awkward and a lot embarrassed at this point. Let's just cut him some slack. If this was his first time, you and I both know how strange that can be. Yolanda giggled and recomposed herself. "Fine, I'll keep the secret until he lets it be known." Omel leaned back, patting his horse on the head. "Thank you, Yolanda. I don't think he needs to be distracted, any more than he already is." The rogue began to trudge up the incline carrying the full water skins and an armload of apples. "Good fruit!" He accidentally spat out shards of apple as he spoke. Omel and Yolanda put up their hands and each caught a tossed apple, taking large bites out of the crimson fruit. "You want some apples, horsies?" the gnome asked the mounts. He quickly withdrew a dagger and rapidly sliced through the fruit, carving them into quarters and tossing them to the equines. After giving each mount a slice, he held the last large apple aloft. "Who wants it?" he questioned. Omel politely extended his hand and asked to have it. As the knight and female warrior watched, the gnome offered the fruit, but quickly snapped it away as the Knight of Bacchus extended his hand. "Hey!" Phidias drew his arm back and flung the fruit, going in between the pair and striking a large bugbear coming over the crest of the hill behind them. "Bugbwares!" yelled the rogue as he spit apple everywhere. Yolanda and Omel whirled around but were surprised by additional humanoids cresting the grassy rise. With Grish and Harris and Stance down by the water, the trio quickly found themselves outnumbered. The group of bugbears rapidly reached 8 individuals who focused on the rogue and 2 warriors. The horses skittered down the incline, causing the other 3 adventurers to scatter to avoid being trampled. Phidias sandwiched himself between the armored fighters and attempted to handle one large humanoid himself. With 3 bugbears facing off on each fighter, and the largest creature, still covered in apple shards, was yelling guttural instructions to his tribe members. With the numbers against them, both Yolanda and Omel took repeated hits from the iron-studded clubs used by the humanoids before assistance could even begin to arrive. Phidias was able to get in several dagger strikes in on his opponent, but was quickly knocked down the hill with an uppercut swing by the beast's Morning Star. As the rogue rolled down the hill, his attacker raised its weapon to bash Yolanda from behind. 2 glowing magic missiles from Harris struck true and brought the creature down before it could smash the female fighter. Huffing, Grish finally reached the lip of the vale and engaged 2 of the furry creatures as well. As Brother Stance reached the fight, he engaged the larger chieftain. With the cleric and 2 fighters each facing off 2 to 1, the odds narrowed as each fighter cut down one of their attackers, and Grish did a double head bash with his foes. Brother Stance struck the chieftain a few times, doing minimal damage, and took a glancing blow from the creature's Morning Star, knocking him off balance. As the beast began a fatal swing, his weapon was caught on silky strands that were anchored to the ground and a fallen bugbear. The web spell had caught the weapon, but not completely. The chieftain used his strength and swung his weapon, snapping the sticky strands, hitting the monk again. Grish moved from his unconscious assailants to get behind the chieftain as it moved towards Stance. The Zenobian grabbed the large bugbear from behind and began to choke it out. The creature fought and attempted to break the hold, but a loud crack was heard from the neck region. The beast's actions had resulted in snapping his own neck. As Yolanda and Omel quickly dispatched their remaining attackers, Harris had reached the scene and quickly slit the throats of the 2 comatose bugbears. With nearly everyone injured to some extent, they turned to see Phidias not moving. Grish quickly ran down the grassy incline and administered magical healing to the rogue. The chanting resolved the wounds, and the gnome blinked his eyes several times, looking up at the cleric. "Mother?" he said, before laughing hysterically. Grish scowled and yelled to the others, "He'll be fine!" but muttering under his breath the word jackass. Omel limped to the top of the ridge and checked the area, telling the others that no other aggressors were present at this time. "Just great!" angrily yelled out Grish. The others drew closer to him as he held up a familiar-looking pouch. "Looks like the bugbears found our thief before we did." He held the item upside down, revealing that it was empty. Everyone checked the bodies for the heart of the golem. After a few minutes of intensive searching, no new results were discovered aside from some semi-precious stones. Brother Stance chugged a potion of healing and announced that the discovery put them back to square one. A freshly healed Yolanda returned to the group from a cursory examination of the surroundings. "These things," as she kicked a dead bugbear, "didn't come down the road. Looks like they wandered parallel to it. They must have seen us go into the gully." Harris asked if a fighter could track the beast's path, and she nodded in the affirmative, stating that they were quite careless in their passing. She continued with, "My guess is they found the thief and killed him already." "True," interjected Harris, "if the mysterious brigand and the golem thief are the same person." The group nodded, and Phidias spoke up, pointing out that their only lead, and they should continue to follow it, lies north. "With luck," he said, "they are one and the same, and we can then return to civilization." The horses were gathered, and the group spread out, going up the trail to the north.
We close out this episode now and give you our thanks for listening. Please subscribe to this podcast, and don't forget to follow us on Twitter at The Bards Podcast. For everyone in Adventures of Philbar, thanks for listening.